Hey, look, is it worth the crime if you don't do the time? If you can get away with something, is it worth really doing it? I say no, because there's a bigger law than man's law, right? I'm not the most religious person at all, but there are some things that you just can't get away with. You can call it Murphy's Law, you can call it God's Law, you can call it Yahweh's Law, you can come up with whatever term you want to call it, universe, spiritual, whatever. You won't be able to get away with it, so it's not worth it. You think about certain people, even in government, I won't mention any names because I don't want to offend anyone here, because we all follow, the heroes and sheroes that this country has put before us. But are they really honorable people? Think about it, right? You land on this country, people are already here. You didn't discover nothing. You just stole some stuff, right? You killed a bunch of people. And some of us are still, unfortunately, practicing many of those traditions without thinking about how did it even happen, right? And now more and more people are becoming wiser, especially, Generation X and millennials, and even the generation before millennials. We're thinking to ourselves, wait a minute, this is not right. And so those people never really did get away with anything, because now it's starting to come back full circle. And you see how society is beginning to become corrupted, right? As a result of all these injustices that have happened over years and years and years and years. And we can act like it doesn't exist. We can act like it's not a big deal. We can act like we're just religious, devout people. I'm saying this because it also bleeds into business life. And if not to be political here or anything like that, but if you can watch something happen in one case, even though it happened in the past and you had nothing to do with it, you personally had nothing to do with it, but if you consistently acknowledge it and respect it as something that you practice as part of your culture, you're kind of justifying how it became a respected thing to do in the first place. So what's the best thing to do? I'm not saying ignore it. I'm not saying don't celebrate any of the holidays, but talk about it, discuss it, teach it to your family, teach it to other families so that it doesn't happen again. Because just because it's a crime that you don't get the time for, it doesn't mean that you and I won't pay. Right? Today's society, that's why I think entrepreneurship is really the thing that will help save America, or the world in general, and ethical entrepreneurship. Today's society is full of very mentally sick people. Some people aren't diagnosed as being mentally ill, but they are, right? And because of so many things in our society that are based purely upon money first, many of us have this mindset of, I gotta get money whatever way I can get money, right? If that's stepping on another person, if that's, doing whatever it takes to get the money in your bank account, whether it be overcharging someone, over-promising, under-delivering, taking advantage of them through contracts, even if the contract is written to your favor and you think you can get away with it. Many of us consider that sound business, but you're not going to get away with it. Those few thousands of dollars, it's not going to, make or break you in that manner. If anything, what will happen is that you'll end up having to pay a bigger price by that universal law. And I'm not saying how you're going to pay that price, but I personally remember myself doing things as a child. I remember I went to a private school, and my grandmother, who was basically like my mom, who raised me, she gave me a check to pay the school. So I went to the school, went to the office, at the desk, in the office, and I think it was like $750 check. And the lady behind the desk gave me a receipt before I gave her the check. And so my cousin says, hey man, keep the check, because I'm like all green, I don't know. He's like, keep the check, because she gave me a receipt first. She just forgot that I had never even given her the check. And I kept the check, right? and went home and cashed it. I think it was a money order maybe. Cashed it and got the money, right? So I never actually paid her. So I got over on her for $750. Now, I didn't get caught. I didn't go to jail, but I paid. I paid the price for that $750 because my cousin wanted a piece. My other cousin was hovering over me like a freaking hawk because he wanted a piece, even though he wasn't even there. He wasn't even at the job, right? He wanted to get paid for it. And he consistently reminded me for, hey man, how come I didn't get paid? And the other thing about it is this, I ended up getting suspended from that school, not because of that check, because they didn't catch me, but because we had a party at the school, or the school had a party rather, and I invited one of my other cousins to the party, and he just acted a fool. He acted a fool. And so I got in trouble for that, got suspended. And then my other cousin, the one who helped me, showed me how to keep the check, one day he called the school, right? Because I guess he was skipping school, he wanted me to skip with him as well. And he made a big stink when he called the front office, and he said he had to speak to me. He said he must speak to me for sure. And remember, I had already been suspended because of what my other cousin did, but the other cousin helped me steal the money. He called up to the school and told them that he was my uncle or something like that. It was life and death, and family members were sick, etc., etc., etc. And I think it was the dean at the time, he came and got me out of class. And he told me this, because he knew, right? He already had it in for me. He says, Kadra, if this is a prank and one of your friends or family, you're gonna be suspended. Now, I didn't even know who was on the damn phone. I picked up the phone and my cousin said, and the dean was listening on another line. My cousin says, hey guys, it's me, man. I had to say this to get you on the phone. And I couldn't really say anything because the dean was over there listening, and I didn't even know I didn't even know my cousin was gonna do this. That was my last day at that school. Even though I shouldn't have been held responsible as a freaking 14-year-old at the school, I didn't plan it, but I kind of built up that energy, right? And as a result, I ended up getting suspended from a very, very good school. Players, I was into basketball, and some of the people who went to that school went on to the NBA and things like that. And it was just it was a quality school, right? There's some imperfections about this school for sure. Definitely some imperfections. But, what you do a crime for, you don't do the time for immediately, you will absolutely pay for it. So keep that in mind.